राम भरत की गाथा होगी जब तक है संसार, अमर है राम भरत का प्यार, अमर है राम भरत का प्यार। सुना भरत ने हुआ राम को जैसे ही वनवास, दौड़े दौड़े पहुँच गए वो वन में राम के पास। राम के बदले न था भरत को राजपाट स्वीकार, अमर है राम भरत का प्यार, अमर है राम भरत का प्यार।
सहनौ भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति। We were discussing the self-sufficiency of a person of realization. Plants have the least amount of self-sufficiency because you have to provide their nutrition to them where they are for them to live. Nutrition and any other need, of course, every need. Animals can make their way to whatever they need. They can acquire it, they can get it, they have their own actions for that purpose. And of course, human beings can have any amount. I mean, we can do anything. We can say, okay, now we have damaged this earth, now let us go to Mars and create a settlement. We can think like that. Nobody else can think like that. So we have got to understand what kind of power we have. If we do understand that we have that kind of power, we fall into the second problem. The second problem being that
Misusing it.
no, I mean, we are talking of self-sufficiency, right? So misusing is not relevant. Yes, that could be a problem, but it's got nothing to do with our topic. Yes, very good, Deepraj. Despite having so much, how we are able to be miserable. In spite of this great amount of self-sufficiency, it seems obviously if I'm self-sufficient, why did we want independence? So many of our ancestors have died to give us independence. Why did they do that? Because they thought, should we have independence, we'd be a happy nation. So for our sake, they got themselves killed. They said, okay, all Indians will be independent. So what is the point of the independence? Is that you're a happy person. If at the end of your independence you don't have happiness, then what was the point of your whole independence? Right? Because the theory is if you are not free, if you are dependent, if you're not liberated, obviously you will have to suffer. So therefore, you have to become independent, you have to become self-sufficient, you have to stand up on your own feet. Isn't it? Won't you tell your children that now you have to become independent, you have to become self-sufficient? Why do you say all this? Because you're assuming that that's how they will become happy. The whole point of that independence struggle and movement, and even today, whenever we try to do it, is that we attain happiness. But what is happening in today's world is we are just as miserable. And why are we miserable? Because so many people are doing so many things. That's why I'm miserable. That's what we say, no? Oh, I would be very happy if my mother did not interfere in my life so much, if my mother in law did not do this, if my neighbor did not do that, if the government was not so bad. Arey, that's weird. What was the use of all your independence if you still had this to say? So, the moment you understand how much power you have, the second problem we reach is if I am so self sufficient, then why am I so dependent? So he is then analyzing for us and saying, why are we so dependent? Is because of our association with our body, mind, and intellect. And should this association not be there, we will be completely independent. This is his thesis to us. Now you have to analyze whether this is so or it is not so. Is it a fact that this body will be influenced by the weather? Is it a fact? Yes. It's a fact that the body will be influenced by the weather. If somebody dear to you treats you badly, your mind will be hurt by it. Is this a fact? It's a fact. If your intellect is always exposed to certain kinds of ideas, you will be influenced by those ideas. Is this a fact? So, as long as the body, mind, intellect exist in the world, they will have to be influenced by their very nature by the world. So, if I have to not be influenced, then what is the one thing I need to do?
Dissociate from body mind.
Disassociate.
Disassociate from the body, mind, and intellect. Now the question is, how am I going to do this? So how, excuse me, how do we disassociate from the body, mind, and intellect?
Attached to higher things.
Very good. So primarily, when you understand yourself to be the self, you know that I've got nothing to do with the body, mind, intellect. जो उसको करना है करने दो, मेरा क्या जाता है? You are disassociate, right? But now, where is Omkar? Omkar and many others object and say, but we cannot associate with the self. Since we cannot associate directly with the self, since we cannot say, I am the self, I am not the body mind intellect, we can't say this all the time. I mean, we can say it some of the time, but rest of the time, it will go away. So therefore, what do we have to do?
Attach yourselves to something higher.
Well, therefore, you find yourself a higher goal, a higher vision, a higher purpose. So that is how we take the absolute truth that you are not the body, mind, intellect, you are the self, and make it our relative truth, which is that I will sacrifice my body, mind, intellect towards a higher goal, a higher cause, a higher purpose that I have set for myself. Okay, so that's how you make it relative. Now you will say, I have to sacrifice my body, mind, intellect. That means I have to take on more pain. Isn't it? Sacrifice means more pain. So you're telling me that to become happy, I have to take on more pain. Yes. Now what can I do? Can I say, this is the fact? What can I say? Either you accept the fact or you don't accept the fact. But the fact will stay. That if you wish to be happy, you have to take on pain. Sounds unbelievable? Then see, take examples. If I want to have the happiness of a healthy body, I will have to take on the pain of not eating everything I want, not sleeping whenever I want, of going out for exercise. ये तो करना ही पड़ेगा, right? If I want to have the pleasure of a happy relationship, I will have to take on the pain of keeping my mouth shut at the right time and opening it at the right time. If your wife says, how am I looking, and you keep your mouth shut, then you're keeping your mouth shut at the wrong time. Okay, so you have to keep it open at the right time, you have to keep it shut at the right time, you take on unnecessary pain. But unless you take on the pain, you cannot gain the pleasure. So don't tell me that, oh, you're giving me pain and telling me I'll be happy. I am not saying it, Vedanta is saying it. I'm merely a postman. Don't be against me. But the fact remains that unless we take on pain, we do not find pleasure. So are we taking on pain so that we will always be in some horrible and miserable thing? No. It is a temporary state of pain you take and land up in pleasure. That is why Deep Raj says it is poison in the beginning and Amrita in the end. Amrita means nectar. Amrita is also Amrita. Amrita means death. Amrita means no death, means immortality. This is the way to not only a nectarine life, but also the way to Amrita, which is the ultimate self-realization. So the greatest thing about Vedanta is that it gives us a life which fulfills not only all our current desires, but takes us all the way, shoulder to shoulder, to self-realization. So therefore, Vedanta doesn't divide the world out into worldly and spiritual and all. We don't have that division. Why? Because the right life will give you worldly gain and spiritual gain. And the wrong kind of life will, you miss something, depending on what it is you have done. Right? So how do we gain self-sufficiency? Is when we disassociate from the body, mind, intellect and associate with the self. To disassociate with the body, mind, intellect, when we are still young in the journey, when we do not understand ourselves to be the self, what is required is what ideal. A higher ideal, yes. A higher ideal. So what is that higher ideal going to do? it's going to make you sacrifice your body, mind, intellect for that. Right? Means what? Say Jayashree is working to set up the university. She has to go all the way to the plot. Now, it's not always convenient. It's not always easy. There's monsoons in Mumbai, and you know what monsoons in Mumbai mean. And yet she takes the trouble to go all the way there and do whatever work she was intending to do over there. When you reach out to a person and you say, we want to set up Vedanta University, fund us, give us money to do this. Some people will say, you're doing great work. Some people will say, what nonsense, why are you asking us for funds? You're asking for funds, you're so money-minded. People will react in so many different ways. You gulp and swallow it. It may not always be pleasurable, but you do what you need to do to attain the ideal that you have set for yourself. And in doing so, you find yourself becoming comfortable with uncomfortable things. It's an incredible thing. How, when you're doing something which you know is useful, it doesn't matter if somebody praises you or condemns you. Those who praise you will not make you feel excited, and those who condemn you will not make you feel dejected. You look upon everything as just a step, just one thing that happens in this journey. So it is a very practical kind of thing. It's not like, okay, we are learning something theoretical. Now, if you make it theoretical, of course you can. Now, all over the place, I notice in Vedanta, people make it so theoretical. They just talk about the self. That's it. You are not the body, mind, intellect. You are the self. Now you go meditate. That is Vedanta, correct. But it may not be the step which is currently applicable to us. So we have to go step by step. Doing the karma, doing the bhakti, doing the jnana, purifying our personality, and slowly moving up towards that divine state. And what he's talking about is, as we go closer and closer to the divine state, the world matters less and less. The world matters less and less, which we'll come to, of course, in the next topic. Not because you don't care about the world. The world matters less in terms of how you are feeling. In other words, take it at every level. When you're working hard for the cause, the body is working hard, but you are enjoying yourself. At the emotional level, when people say negative things to you, you look upon them like children. They don't know what they are saying. I remember once I said something rude to my mother once when I was a very young girl. I don't know, something rude. I don't remember what I said. I said something very rude. She got very angry with me. And she said, how dare you speak to me like that? I will tell your father. So my father was a lawyer and he had no time for us. He would come home late at night and early morning he would get up and he used to be reading his briefs. So it was like 8 o'clock in the morning or whatever. I don't know. I distinctly remember the scene. So she trudged up to my father and said, see what your daughter is saying. This is what she said to me. Now, he has no time in the morning. He's reading his briefs. He has no time to deal with all this, nutshell that goes on in the house and children are misbehaving and all. It's not on his scheme of things. So I remember that. He looked up from his brief for 1 second. He looked up at my mother and he said to her, she doesn't know what she's saying. And he started reading his brief again. Now there's nothing to say after that. What is my mother? She cannot argue with a person who's not. So she stormed away angrily or whatever she did, I don't know. But remember that scene. He looked up for 1 second and said, she doesn't know what she's saying. Ratila samjhat nahi. I don't know what she's saying. Like, I've said something rude and I thought I'm in for big trouble. So I'm standing there in my little nightie, I'm little thing, standing there thinking, big trouble is coming. And he said, look, you don't know what she's saying. I must have said something ridiculous and rude. I don't know what I said to her. But remember that scene. She doesn't know what she's saying. And I often think of that because it is really a fact of life. People don't know what they're saying. They're saying good things to us, they're saying bad things to us. They don't know what they're saying. In fact, some people have a deep claim, deep respect for the teacher. The same people criticize the teacher. It's an incredible thing. One day, oh, you are the world's greatest, and next day, you are the world's worst. Strange. And third day, you are world's greatest again. Strange. What will you say? They don't know what they're saying, both when they praise and when they criticize. All you will be concerned with is how does this affect the goal, if in any way? If in any way. If it doesn't affect the goal, it doesn't need to be thought of. If it affects the goal, you take action. So when you are associating with the idea at the level of the body, you are unaffected by all the work you take. At the level of the mind, you are unaffected by what people have to say, by success, by failure. You know, there are so many ways, they say, then there are endless ways to skin a cat. It's a bad example because I really love cats, but the fact remains, right? Suppose you're going in this way and you meet a roadblock, you can always go in that way and do your work. Just because this way didn't work doesn't mean that way won't work. So all you're concerned with is the ideal. So whether it's praise or criticism, whether it is success or failure, at the level of the intellect, you're only interested in that analysis which will help you which will take you to the goal. Other people agree with you, don't agree, it doesn't matter. If they have an idea better than yours, you take their idea. If your idea is better than their idea, you take your idea. You have disassociated with the intellect. It's not my idea versus your idea. It's like which idea takes us to the goal quickest. So at every level of the personality, I hope you can see how you are detaching from it. But it has to be replaced by a goal for this to happen. So that is what detachment means, that you have stepped back from it and what is happening to it isn't happening to you. What happens if, Mahesh, what happens if you face difficulties in reaching the ideal? How does one keep equanimous in that situation? Mahesh, you know the answer to that. Every day you have to practice it. You focus on the goal. So don't worry about the difficulties. Then you took up a goal you knew perfectly well that it's not going to be smooth, right? Anything you do in this world is not going to be smooth. Now you people are not getting married. Why are you people not getting married? You all are saying it's not smooth. But those of us who have got married, we understand it is not smooth. But life continues. Sometimes good, sometimes bad, continues. Similarly with the goal. Some days we have difficulties reaching our ideal. Part of the game. Some days things start moving. Sometimes it's frustrating because nothing is moved. Sometimes suddenly, tuck, 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 everything starts happening. Part of the game. So in your mind, basically, you have a timeline. So when you have a timeline, you have thought already about these things and you've figured out that, okay, I'm going to reach this point in this much time. Right? So let us say now we want to build the first building for the university. So how much time have we given ourselves for that? We have till end of next year and early 2026, we should have the building up. This is it sort of estimate we have. We don't have to start jumping up and down for every time we have an interruption now, because we know we've given ourselves that much time to reach it. Now, it may happen, it may get extended, it may happen that it may come thing, but mentally you have that estimate. So much time you take. So how does one keep equanimous? Focus on the goal, keep working, and have your concept of in what's a reasonable time for this goal to be reached. Is your first question okay?
Yeah, did you see my post? I had this.
Yeah, you added this, but first one is sorted.
No, I mean, this question is connected with that.
Yeah, okay, but okay, we can have many connected questions, but how does one keep equanimous in that situation? Has that been sorted? How does an ideal keep you equanimous? Has that been sorted?
No, that's why I asked this question. So why is an ideal required for keeping?
That's a separate question, Mahesh. Surely you can see they're two different questions. One is, how does the ideal help you stay equanimous? That is what I have just explained. You can say, all right, fine, but why can't I do that without an ideal? That is a second question. But the first one, at least,
You should have any goal. Why? I mean, a goal also, if you know any goal you take will not be smooth running. I mean, why an ideal?
Mahesh. Luckily, the question is written there. If you don't want an answer to the question, withdraw the question, because there's no point writing question X and wanting an answer to question Y. You have written, what happens if you face difficulties in reaching the ideal? How does one keep equanimous in that situation? So your question is, the first question is, how does an ideal help you stay equanimous? How will you stay equanimous even if you have an ideal but you face difficulties? This is your question number one. Your question number two is, suppose we remove ideal. Can I not practice this without having an ideal? That's your question number two. Right? This is what you have written. I'm not answering questions you have in your head. I am answering the question you have written. And you have to be precise about this. You can't just write something and then you're just talking something while you think of something else. ये सब यहाँ नहीं हो रहा है. By now you should have figured that out. We are precise in what we do. All right. Now I've finished with your first. Now second. What I meant is, what difference does an ideal make? One can be equanimous if one thinks life has ups and downs. Yes, one can be, but one won't be. You will be able to take it up to a certain point. Each one of us has a certain degree of elasticity. You will be able to be equanimous in certain cases just by telling ourselves that, okay, ab chalta hai, kya kar sakte. But when the stakes get higher and higher, you will not be able to take this in your stride. You will not simply be able to say, oh, life has ups and downs. You won't be able to. There will be some stage at which this will break down.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Many people have that, they'll say things like, stay in the moment, don't think of the past. They'll give you so much advice, don't do this and don't do that. What they don't get is, it will all work up to a point, and then it collapses. So if we do these band-aid kind of things, you'll get band-aid kind of results, band-aid kind of advantages. But if you do the whole thing, Then you get the full advantage. Right. Who? Any other questions up to now, or will you read? Who will read the next paragraph?
Hari Om, ma'am, I can.
Please.
Such persistent learning for independence actually emanates from the supreme self within. Your real self is boundless, infinite. Hence, you can never find satiation until you reach your original self. Not knowing this truth, the ignoramuses seek freedom in the world. In the past, people believed that the sun revolved around the globe. The truth is contrary. The scientists who declared that the earth was round and not flat was done away with. Likewise, spiritual ignoramuses, the world the world over reject, condemn the wise who declare true freedom lies within oneself, not in the external world. So this paragraph tells us that uh, trying to achieve things in the world will never satiate yourself. Only when you reach the supreme self within will you be happy.
Very good. And one more thing.
There's a lot of untruths.
That when you're ignorant of the truth, it seems very unbelievable to you. For an ignoramus, that just doesn't make sense, unfortunately. So very good. So this paragraph told us two important ideas. One idea being a philosophical notion. Why are we craving for liberation? Why is it that none of us want to stay in bondage? Why is it like that? We are starting on the grounds that we want liberation. But why do we want liberation? Why do you not want to be bound? Why are you not agreeable to being a slave? Yeah, that's the question that the paragraph is answering. So Ramtirtha, he says, it is because you are free. So since you are being put in an unnatural position, you're feeling uncomfortable. That is why everybody yearns for liberty. Every time you feel that you're trapped, you want liberty. Whether it is you feel trapped in a marriage, you feel trapped in anything. You feel trapped in a job, wherever you feel trapped emotionally, wherever you feel trapped, politically, whichever way you feel trapped, you will strive for freedom. You want to break it, right? Somebody ties you up, you're uncomfortable, you want to break free. You realize in the morning, every morning, when you get up, okay, you had a good sleep and you get up, the very first thing you do is, I don't know if you know, you do it. First thing,
You stretch.
You
stretch.
Yeah, you stretch. First thing. Thank God somebody has taken note of what they actually do. You stretch, right? You go, oh, stretch. Why do you do that? In sleep, because of the nature of sleep, your body gets constricted. You're turned, you're curled. But that's unnatural. Stretch. It's so natural to us. That yearning, we don't realize that every time you stretch, you're yearning for liberation. It is so...
Janki, even animals do. Cat, dog, they also do.
Of course, the yearning that we have, we don't want to be constricted. You stretch. So why is that? Whether it's an animal or a human or whatever. Why? He has an answer for us. You can take it or you can leave it. This is Ramatirtha's answer. You're yearning for liberation because you are free. That is your original nature. And since it is your original nature, whenever you're constricted, you start feeling uncomfortable. You want to open up again. So, the persistent yearning for independence actually emanates from the Supreme Self within. Since that is your nature, you want it. But when you're very far away from the self, somehow none of this sounds believable. So it's a strange thing. So what is the consequence of that is we don't go in the right direction. It is almost counterintuitive. We feel safe in our body, mind, intellect. It's like a slave feeling safe where he is. So he feels safe but constricted. And that is what happens in our lives. We are safe where we are, but we are constricted where we are. And if you give in to the safety, you lose the freedom. And if you try for the freedom, you lose the safety. So 9 out of 10 people will go with the safety. There's a very nice saying that a ship is safe in the dock. A ship is safe in the dock, but that's not where it's meant to be. You will never meet with shipwreck, right? If you stay in the dock only. But that's not where it's meant to be. That's not its purpose. So, what prevents us from our liberty? What prevents us from fulfilling our yearning for liberty is our
Desire for safety.
desire for safety. Very good.
Hariom Janki ji, I have this question. I think you mentioned that sage Vashishta and Rama. I think Ramaji asked this question. Why do some people go to the Lord or get into philosophy? And sage Vashishta didn't give an answer, right? So even this is applicable here. Why do some people want freedom and why do some people? Is there no answer for that?
No, everybody wants freedom. That is a given.
Okay.
The problem is they want safety, but you can't have both.
Okay. Then why did Sage Vashishta say that riddle that some, I think.
Well, that is, yeah. So in today's context, it would mean why do some people choose to give up the safety? That you can't.
You can say that, right? They want freedom. They have the vasana. There are so many answers, no?
No. How can you say that? Because every one of us wants liberty and every one of us wants safety. So why do most people go with the safety and very few with the liberty? You can see, how many people are in class because this is, if you're willing to study philosophy, in a traditional spiritual setup like such as this one, then, well, not traditional because we are modernized now, but in the genuine spiritual setup, let us say, you are under tremendous pressure because you have to face your flaws and you have to not just face them, you have to do something about them. So you find very few people come to class to start with, right? How many of us are we? Hardly 20, 30 we are in a class, right? Very, very few people come to class. Of the people who come to class, forget coming to class also, we have, I don't know what, some 5,000-10,000 people on our mailing list. Isn't that right, Mahesh? Some number like that, right? Some fantastic number.
Yeah, we have about 23,000.
23,000 people on our mailing list. Wow.
But we don't send so many every week. But
Okay. But 23,000 people, we are not picking up lists from somewhere and adding it to our mailing list. We put you on the mailing list, I believe, only when you do something with us, in the sense that you say, I want to attend this program, or something you have to do to come on the mailing list. Either ask to be on the mailing list, or, register for a program or something. 23,000. Of those 23,000 people on our mailing list who have been told quite frequently about the class, I mean, we don't get it every week, Mahesh says, but whatever, they've been told. 25 are in class. 23,000. 25 are in class. Good, no, otherwise I don't know how we would run these classes. But 25 are in class. Of the 25 in class, how many have taken to their karma, their bhakti, their jnana in the way they're supposed to? Forget all three. How many are doing morning study? How many have taken up some karma and are doing it? Many have taken it up and are not doing it. Some have taken it up and are doing it. And how many are doing it consistently? Right? So, jnana, not totally consistent. Karma, not totally consistent. So, what is winning in their lives? In that 23,000 to 25 people, what is the thing that has won? The safety, the security of whatever they are currently doing. Versus coming here and listening to all this thing, first you go to class, then they will tell you all bad things about you. They make क्यों जाओ class to? और सुनो ये सब मेरे बारे में. I'm very happy sitting at home. And then, having heard all these bad things about yourself, then take action now. Too much trouble. So, you would imagine that there has to be a reason why these particular set have taken it up and do it. How much we have announced about marathon, about university. How many people are working on any of these things? Do you not agree that we should? Then why don't you? Somebody else will. Why all this? Do you have an explanation, Ganesh? There's no explanation. So what was Rama's question? Why is it that some people take to the path and some people don't? To which sage Vashishta replied, the tree falls off the seed, the seed falls off the tree. Some fall on rocky ground, some on fertile. Means we throw seeds, right? Some meet fertile ground and some meet rocky ground. Why is that? No explanation. Why only these 25 from that 23,000? Why? Did we do something special for these 25 that we didn't do for them? Did we give these people some special benefits? Have we offered anything? Nothing. So why? Nobody knows.
I'm not able to fathom the answer. Sorry, this only it's very difficult to grapple, because like that, then every decision in life, or it can be the same thing, right? Why does a person marry? Why does a person go to school, work? But there are vasanas and desires. So that was my only contention.
But your vasanas don't always determine this, right? You do have you have a joker in the pack. What is the joker in the pack?
Free will.
Yeah, free will. So now, why did your free will decide in X manner and somebody else's decide in Y manner?
Okay, now it is clear that everyone has that vasana, that free will. Why do some people choose? So that can be across the board, right?
Yes, it is, but that's not an answer. That's what he's trying to say. You still don't know why he chose like that. It is an unknown. It is not only unknown, it's unknowable.
Very dangerous.
No, it's not very dangerous. It is very positive because it's in your hands now. You make the choice, no? You make the choice to work at it. If you make the choice, that's your choice.
Okay, ma'am, thank you.
How disappointed people are with answers, I I see from the tone of the
No,
voice.
ma'am, no, it's fine. It's fine. It's really fine. Thank you. Thank you.
Not only you, Ganesh, everybody feels very disappointed. They say, oh, their voice also shows. मैंने क्यों पूछा? But the truth will stay the truth. अब मैं क्या बोलूं?
But Janki ji, may I ask?
Yes, of course, I'll say.
If we say that it is our natural, we are naturally inclined to liberation, then it should be an effortless task, like a bird flying but why it is so?
I'm glad you gave the example of a bird flying. Do you know when the bird begins to fly, how much effort they have to put? The mother pushes them out of the nest. They don't want to leave the nest. That is that safety versus liberation. Every time you step out of your comfort zone, you are uncomfortable. So most people step right back in again. Now you take up karma. You are one of the sincere volunteers, you're taking up karma. You do so much karma. You're doing X amount of karma. Suppose you increase that as the marathon comes near, as the Yagna comes near, you increase the karma because it's necessary. Right? What will happen to you? You're used to, let's say you do 2 hours of karma a day. But during the marathon or during the yagna or some event has come up and now you made it 4 or 5 hours a day. What will be your experience?
It is difficult, but at the same time, little rewarding.
Yeah, right in the beginning, what is your exam? You will get stressed because you've increased the amount of work. You will say, why am I doing this? Why am I taking this stress? I did it for a noble cause and now I've got all this stress. I should reduce. This is how the mind will say. Every time you increase, you come out of the mind will balk at. And then after some time, if you just say, you stupid mind, shut up for a moment, or you say, oh, I'm feeling horrible, but this, what normally happens is I'm feeling horrible, but this job is there, so it has to be done. And so you make yourself do it. You eventually find that doing 4 hours of work is not stressful anymore. But now when you make it 6 hours, again, this whole thing will start all over again. So people withdraw. And that's why they stagnate.
But in the spiritual path, as you approach, it is going away and away. It is not, we are not reaching here. It is, as we move forward, we realize that we feel that it is getting far and far away.
Yeah, so you're saying you move forward, no? No, but what you're saying is true. When we joined the academy, Swamiji said 3-year course. So we all were like 3 years, I don't think we need more than year and a half. We realize in that much time. Then after 6 months, you say, okay, chalo, 3 years is fine. I think it'll take 3 years. Then after 3 years are over, you say, no, let me stay another couple of years, another 5-6 years, this should be done. And as you go closer, you say, okay, maybe a few janmas it's going to take. It's not that it's gone further away, it's your understanding has deepened. So you begin to understand the enormity of what you have taken on. When you're a child and you take on something, kar denge. But as you do it, you begin to realize the task you've taken on is the most noble task a human being can do. Most noble. So what have you taken on? And how much effort and time it's going to take? First we are thinking as a small thing, kar denge jaldi se. Doesn't work like
Thank
so.
you.
As you move forward, you begin to understand more and more of the enormity of the thing. But it is moving forward. That is what you have to get.
Hope so.
Okay, so then who will read the next para?
Really.
Please.
It is no doubt difficult to straightaway attune to the inner self for attaining ultimate liberation. People take to the easy way to find freedom in the external world. Such freedom is of an impermanent nature. You cannot rely on the world wholly for your liberty. Realizing the uncertainty of the changing world, you must gradually shift your reliance to the eternal self rather than the world for peace and bliss. You must attain absolute self sufficiency. The following episode drives home the need for the shift in focus. No doubt it is very difficult to directly connect yourself to the self or to ultimate liberation. That is why people go for the shortcut of taking easy tasks, hoping that they will get something from the world. But soon they will realize that it is not going to work, and the only eternal satisfaction you can get only from the self.
Well, so who can give examples of how we take the easy way to find freedom in the external world? Can you give me examples?
A person going to an ashram, um, maybe when he reaches 50, he says that I leave all of this and go to the ashram, thinking that he'll get freedom, but it may not be so, right? Philosophy says it might not be so. Or going to the Himalayas because you carry your vasanas with you, your desires with you.
Okay, yes.
Unless you do the hard work of doing the bhakti karma, struggling, failing, only that will give freedom. Not going to a physical place or even being with the gross environment of people and all of that. I hope that was right.
Yes, correct.
Even though I may disagree with my example, but I feel that that's the answer. That's a short-term happiness.
Yeah, when you go with the intention that you're freeing yourself from your problems at home, you go to the ashram. Then it is. But that's not going to solve it because you'll create problems in the ashram.
Absolutely.
Escaping the worldly responsibilities.
Yes, but here give an example where you're going to the world. Both of y'all are giving examples where you're going to so-called spiritual activities. So Mahesh, retail therapy. Yes, that's true. Correct. You get retail therapy. Get me more money and I will feel free. Correct, Mahesh. Deep Raj. Investing money to be financially independent and thinking that will somehow give him eternal happiness from all things. Very good. Say, okay, I'm going to be a great investor, as if that will solve every problem. Correct. So we escape our work. In the book, there was this whole point of how we escape our work into nobility also. Instead of doing what we should be doing, we do what we think of as good acts. So if I'm a student, instead of studying, I will go and help the neighbor do the garden or something, like I'm being so good. It's just a justification to avoid what is the right action. So similarly over here, we have set ourselves a target and you say, oh, these people, they're so good, they will reach the target, they're very efficient. So that means you are escaping your responsibility of doing your bit. Oh, no. Many people tell me, oh, no, you will definitely reach. Hello? Yes, we will definitely reach, assuming you do your bit. So, we escape right action by doing interesting action, by doing noble action, by doing action that other people will praise, but you're escaping. And you have to be aware yourself about it. And maybe somebody knows, maybe somebody doesn't. Instead of getting to the root, a simple physical example is you got a headache, you pop a pill, and you forget all about it. It's not like you even tried to figure out if there was anything else. There are people who have cancer and take paracetamol because they're not even going to find out what is wrong. So we try to escape the cause with temporary solutions. So these are very, very, you have to have some kind of subtler understanding to know whether you're actually doing the right action or you're merely justifying why you're not doing it. You need a lot of honesty with oneself to do all this. So we say, okay, no, I can't deal with the self, okay? That's too much for me. But that never translates to, okay, then what can I do? So this thing is we take the easy way to find freedom. The easiest way to find freedom is to take out your wallet. It's the easiest way to do this. Right? If you want freedom from household chores, hire a maid. Whatever, the easiest way for freedom is just take your wallet out. Then you find wallet is empty. Then you have to go do something to fill wallet. And that's how you go down the wrong stream. So people take to the easy way to find freedom in the external world. But such freedom is of an impermanent nature. You found freedom from X, you'll get into bondage to Y. So you did not like to live with your mother-in-law because she was such an awful person. So you go with your husband, you insist, you go off and you live by yourself. And then when you go to the new house, you have a problem with the neighbor. Everywhere escaping one thing to fall into another thing. So these are all impermanent solutions. Consumption of narcotics, yes, that's also. Escape. Let's escape the problem. When even, and especially in Indian families, another escape is if we have a sort of disagreement or difference of interest with members of the family, we will not go to them and say, okay, you want X and I want Y, and let's see how we can both get it or compromise or whatever. We will say, नहीं, कुछ नहीं बोलो, सब झगड़ा हो जाएगा. We always want to push it under the carpet. But families who swallow the bitter pill, they say, okay, chalo, put it on the table, let us see how we can solve it. Those are the families that stay family. Otherwise, the others are not family. They are just like, एक दूसरे के पीछे कुछ ना कुछ बोल रहे हैं. So we escape problems. We are not trained to solve problems. We are not trained to go there and say, okay, this was the problem, what shall we do? Do we have enough examples of how people take the easy way to find freedom? Do you have any other examples to give? We must give ourselves these examples because then we understand what the text is talking about. Otherwise, you know, samajh mein aaya, we have to reach this self-realization. We have to go from where we are. We're here now. We'll take the next step forward. You all want to give any further examples? Or we will take the example he has given.
Janki.
Huh.
So in the context that you just explained, like almost every example will fall in that, because invariably we are avoiding doing the right thing by doing something which is interesting or good. So almost every action that we are doing falls in that category.
That is why we get into more and more bondage, no? That's the whole point. All the time we are doing actions that take us to bondage, but claim to want liberation.
Right. So then it is, I mean, we can't really pick an example because it is everything we do every day.
Yeah, so that's why I give an example so we can draw our own attention to the fact that, oh, in this way also I did that thing.
So everything, overeating, over exercising, social media consumption, everything.
Yeah. Instead of facing any bitter truths about yourself, you just scroll. Right. Escape. Yoga and meditation, hoping for quick liberation. Yes, correct. Instead of trying to understand yourself, your next step, chalo yoga class jate, then we will all be okay. Or meditation be better, then we will be okay. ऐसे थोड़ी ना होता है. If it was so easy, तो फिर पूरी दुनिया ही self-realized हो जाए. Correct. Using yoga and meditation as a method or means of avoiding the actual issues.
Liquor consumption. Why we are missing that?
Okay, liquor, narcotics. These are relatively easy, but the more difficult ones are when you do something that everybody else appreciates, but you didn't do the right thing. Or sometimes you can do the right thing and everybody thinks you are wrong. So which one will you choose? So we have to be honest with ourselves.
And one last question, the desire for meditation is an effect, right? You can't,
Desire for meditation.
like we get to meditation when all other desires go away, and this is the sole thought which is there, and we do that, right? Last,
Yeah, that when you're
but
ready
we can't write it down in the morning that I hope to do that. That is an effect, right? After years of karma bhakti gyan, we get that. All others get wiped out, and this is the only thought that is there. Am I right?
when there is only the thought of the self left, then you can sit on the seat of meditation.
But you can't force feed it in your mind.
Kalyan, coming to class and thinking I'm on spiritual path. Yes, correct. You replace actual work on the spiritual path by putting a tick. I went to class. It's not a tick, it's the work. Correct, good example. Kalyan. Okay, so that's it for today, and we will meet again tomorrow. All of you know